I don't know about you, but for over a week now, I've been hearing folks say how much they're ready to leave 2022 behind. How ready we are for this new year. And as I heard it, it occurred to me, I heard the same thing last year and the year before. Yes, there's been more than a little bad news, even a sense of ongoing darkness these past few years on many different fronts. And yes, we are more than ready for good news to happen to ourselves, to our loved ones, our communities, our nation, the world. How fortunate. That is what we celebrate in these 12 days of Christmas. The good and joyful news that Christ is born, that the light shines in the darkness and the darkness has not overcome it. This is the news we happily share in greeting each other with Happy Christmas. This good news is better than we often realize, because while Christ comes amidst darkness and all sorts of trials, he comes and sees us out of love. When you love someone deeply, that's how you see them. When one you love screws up or is in pain, the truly loving don't leave. They stay even when things cannot be fixed. The closer we are to one another, the more we find ourselves loving the whole person. Disappointments, screw-ups, obnoxious differences, failings, and all. This is the love of God who became one of us so to be that much closer and to redeem us. Whatever the past year or three have been that makes us ready to be done with them, Christ still comes. In his coming, we are loved, forgiven, and made whole. We are renewed. As Paul tells the Galatians, in the fullness of time, God sent him born of a woman as we are, so that we might receive adoption as children. And because you are children, God has sent the Spirit of his Son into our hearts, crying, Abba, Father. And in John we hear, the light shines in darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. What you may or may not have heard is the news that this adoption in love, Christ's answer to the heart's cry, became flesh this past week in Buffalo, New York. I'm going to die, the man managed to whisper. Oh no, you're not going to die. We're not even talking about that, she said. Over the howl of wind and the thick snow, in the early morning of Christmas Eve, Shakira Autry heard something outside, a wailing voice crying out in agony. She went out into the blizzard that has already claimed 39 lives and found a man trapped in a snowdrift, completely disoriented. So she and her boyfriend carried him, Joey White, into their home. Joey is 64. He's mentally disabled. He lives in a group home. And although he had agreed to stay in, he went out. And after walking for miles, got lost, confused, and dangerously cold. Shakira took him in. And with her 3 boys, 5, 6, and 13, and her boyfriend, they tried to help, because no emergency vehicles could get to them. I think she said she tried calling 911 at least 100 times in the 24 hours. She had to use a hairdryer to peel off his clothing, which clung tightly to his body, shivering from extreme frostbite. She cut off his frozen socks and removed the remnants of grocery store bags that were cemented to his hands, which were severely swollen and covered with sores and blisters from exposure. Finally, Joe was able to tell her his sister Yvonne's phone number which he had memorized and somehow remembered. "Hi, you don't know me, but I have your brother," a shaky voice said when Yvonne picked up. "Shakira was telling me he was literally frozen," his sister said. "She covered him up. She did everything for this man. Washed his clothes. She bathed him. She fed him." Yvonne was incredulous. The next day, Christmas Day, still unable to get medical help, she posted live on Facebook, "I am asking for help from whoever. This man needs serious medical help." And then she says, "I've been very private and sensitive about the situation," explaining that she had exhausted all the options for getting medical help she could think of. "I have literally called everybody under the sun." Within half an hour of her post, countless neighbors offered to help. Several came to plow around their home. Others came and helped take Joey, wrapped in warm blankets, to the Erie County Medical Center. Shakira rode with him. And you can hear her in the background promise him, "It's okay, Joey. I'm right here. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere." At the medical center, they carry Joey in, and on the video, you can hear her, "This man could have died. I just wasn't going to let that happen on my watch. I wasn't going to let that happen on my watch." She doesn't blame anyone. She never makes it about herself. She hears a stranger in trouble and thinks, not who else could or should do it, not what a trouble imposition this was on Christmas Eve with 3 children, but that it wasn't going to happen on her watch. Christ is born once again. In that moment, she lives her truth, that this is her watch. It is our watch. Said another way, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. It's hard for me to say who were the Magi in this story, who was the Christ child, or Mary, or Joseph, or the shepherds. They were all out there in a place far away from home, seeking something not at all about themselves, but something greater than any one of them. And I wonder, as they sought, what did they hope for? The Magi came the furthest. I imagine them in the east, staring up to read a dark and starry sky. When they first saw that wild new star, his star, did they fear it was a bad sign? Did they know, or at least hope, it was a good one? By the time they get to Jerusalem, it's momentous enough that they tell Herod they're seeking the child born King of the Jews. Having observed his star in the east, they have come to pay him homage. Herod did not think it was good news at all. Fear of losing all sovereignty overtook him. The Magi weren't looking to convert, to follow Jesus. They went to honor and worship, to offer their gifts, unasked for, unanticipated. The shepherds hadn't sought him for any gain or advantage either, but to be present to God's glory after getting past that initial fear. Mary and Joseph, shepherds, Magi, they were witnesses to the miracle of the Word becoming flesh and dwelling among us that very first time. Shakira and her family were not looking for praise or gain. They didn't do it as a statement of racial justice or point out their skin colors were different from each other. Led by Shakira, The whole family offered their help and care and love for another human being, and then the neighborhood. In doing so, they all became witnesses, part of the Christmas miracle, too. Whether you're one who is glad to be past 2022 or not, it's 2023 anyway. And we're still counting our lives and our history from that first Christmas in Bethlehem. Yet at the time of his birth, I don't think it would have made the nightly news. I don't think it would have gone viral online. The enduring story depends so much on what we do with it, what we make of it, how we live it. We make the news, good or bad. We are the ones who can choose to be not just observers or passers-by. We get to be bearers of light and hope. Digging into a snowdrift. We know that light shines in the darkness, and the darkness will not overcome it. And it is what we try to live as followers of Christ. So sometime this week, even today if you can, I invite you to light a candle and have it in a dark place with you while you ponder the way that that little light changes darkness around you. Think of where you've seen transforming light in this past year. And more importantly, decide how you want to seek to bring that light, the love of Christ, into the year ahead. Consider how you would most like to do this, and challenge yourself by asking also, how or for whom would you least like to do this? Because that's where Christ is. There's no mention of Joseph frisking the shepherds for weapons. He doesn't ask them if they're good Jews. There's nothing about checking out exactly where are those magi from? What religion were they? Or would they tell Herod? Whose political camp did they favor? Not even a note about differences in clothing or appearance or unfamiliar expressions in foreign languages, though almost every single nativity scene shows this. The Holy Family received them all, made room for these seekers, sanctioned their awe and honoring, welcomed their stories of angels and stars. And so then they went on their way as changed people. Because after holding the infant Christ near to your heart, none of the rest matters. Because experiencing the Holy One, the Word made flesh right before us, well, none of us can ever be the same. Just ask Joey and Shakira.